Hey, Brian.
Hey, Mark.
What mobile CRM tool does the Fonz use when he's out in the field?
The Fonz
Salesforce A.
doesn't. Does anyone even know who the Fonz is anymore?
Don't you?
Do I?
Hey, it's still funnier than your jokes.
I think we should have gone with Salesforce Moo. That was by far funnier than Salesforce A.
Salesforce moves. That's not funny. It doesn't even rhyme.
And neither is the Fonz. The Fonz is never funny.
A.
I'm Brian Kwong, also known as the Salesforce Wizard, and I'm joined by...
Mark Cross, Salesforce Yoda.
Welcome to the Wizards News WizardCast. This is a podcast for all those who love Salesforce.
And for those who love bad jokes and bad puns.
You know, I'm really excited about this episode, Mark.
Do I want to know why?
Yes, you do. It's our 10th full episode of the WizardCast.
Yeah.
It's also the 10th episode without Parker Harris.
But only our 8th occasion making that exact same joke.
That joke is classic, and it will never go away.
That's right, WizardCast, where jokes come to die and instead live out a tortured existence.
You know who else lives out a tortured existence? The people we interview.
Well, at least while we're interviewing them, anyway.
This episode, we feature Phoebe Venkat, and this is actually one of the truly live portions that we did at Midwest Streaming. Truly live, just like the rest of this podcast.
Yeah. This was right after the final keynote, so there's unfortunately a lot of background noise because they were tearing down the stage and everything while we were sitting there. So we apologize for all the added noise and distraction.
Let's play that clip.
Hi everybody, I'm Phoebe Venkat. You might know me from places like the Success Community. I live and breathe in there, but I'm also all out and about. I'm based in San Francisco. I work for Salesforce. And I've got the pleasure to meet a lot of you in person. And here at Midwest Streaming, I got to meet even more people.
So what do you do?
I run engagement for a Success Community. So that's a very
engagement.
Yes, it's very.
Is that
So like wedding rings on fingers?
Oh no wedding rings, no diamonds. Although we're all diamonds in the community. Let's be honest.
Sparkling snowflakes.
Oh no, engagement is a very broad term for helping to kind of be the traffic coordinator, right? Making sure that people are able to get to the right groups that they need to do their jobs.
What do you mean, right groups?
So we have, I think at least hundreds of chatter groups. So sometimes it's hard to navigate where you want to go to. So I'll point out certain groups.
And these chatter groups, they're in Salesforce's org?
Yeah, in the Success Community.
What's the Success Community?
Okay, it's the...
I told you, we're live.
I love this.
People
This
are
is
actively
real
breaking
time.
down the theater. So,
The Success Community is Salesforce's customer community. It's built on our own platform, the Community Cloud. I've just said community about 60 times, so if you're playing a drinking game, this is great.
I'm going to have to now.
For those that don't drink, the water drinking game is great. But it's a community where anyone with Salesforce credentials can log in. There's no extra cost, and you go in and you're able to network with anyone else in the Salesforce ecosystem. Other customers, partners, and also Salesforce team members like me.
what do you find is your most challenging thing that you have to accomplish is trying to engage people into the community?
Because often people just don't want to be engaged. Like,
Right.
you have to lead them kicking and screaming to the trough.
They want to be bachelor forever.
Yeah.
That's where the engagement ties back in.
Exactly.
So that needs to be a
I think
hashtag.
it's
Probably is.
I think it's having, as a community builder, that's what I consider myself, community builder, community manager, you cannot dictate how people find value. So if someone's getting value from reading the answer boards or are reading the idea exchange and voting up ideas, and they prefer not to post, they prefer not to comment, they're getting value, leave them alone. Great, show them what they could have if they choose to, but it's not about everyone's going to be in the same boat and I'm looking at how many times you're posting, because what the role is about. It's not about shaming those who aren't posting, quote unquote, enough.
You started by saying you wanted to get the right people to the right groups.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
How
right.
do you identify what the right group is and what the right people are?
I think you got to ask questions, especially if, say somebody's having a picture up yet, got nothing in their profile. Hint, hint, hint. They're not following anybody. They're already not part of any groups. You can't find them on Google. What I'll do is a cross-check on Google or Twitter to see if there's something I can glean.
So wait, are you saying that you stalk users?
I use the data that is out there. I do work at Salesforce, and I'm just naturally curious.
That's
so if
fine.
I see someone new, John Smith or, Gupta Smith in the community, I will go and look them up.
Does
and try
that
to
mean
find out.
you know the secret identity of Batman?
Ooh, let's not talk about. I can't talk about that right now.
That's the first rule of Batman.
Proprietary data?
You don't talk about Batman.
I thought that was Fight Club.
This is so
Oh crap, I just talked about it.
Oh,
Now I have to punch you.
Oh, don't hit me.
right, these
Wait
guys,
to a meeting.
A person has to break it apart.
Fostering good community, fostering good community.
No, but looking for clues, because anything that, let's say someone did leave a clue somewhere, whether it's on their Twitter profile or if you Google them, I could do that in a few seconds and find out, oh, John Smith, I didn't realize he liked basketball. So I might go to his profile, and instead of just saying, hi, I'm Phoebe, welcome to the community, here's your guides, whatever, bye, I'll say, oh, hey, fellow basketball fan, which I am. So you want to make sure you're genuinely engaging and not just saying that you like stuff
Yeah.
in hopes of engaging somebody, right? And then I'll say, you know what? I don't see any information on your profile. So number one, here's a guide on how to update your profile. And how can I help you get to the right groups? Are you interested in mobile, in analytics, all of it? Affinity groups? We've got everything. Burning Man at Dreamforce. Every single kind of affinity you can think
Burning
of.
Man?
Yeah, there's a group called Burning Man at Dreamforce.
Are they dressed?
I haven't looked that deeply into the group yet. I'm not of the Burning
I
Man
wonder what
tribe
those
yet.
cheddar profile pictures look
Maybe
like.
maybe that's what goes on at Moscone North.
Oh. So I find this really interesting. So for those people who are in MNs and are thinking maybe they want to be an engagement community manager, do you think it could be a good step for them to start by trying to be an engagement manager within their own company?
Absolutely.
And what's the path to that?
You know what? There's no real clear path, because my current role, I never aimed to get this role at this kind of company. What I've always done is focus on customer-focused roles. So a lot of retail background, I've worked in call centers before. I've also worked in corporations, writing communications for employees and for customers, marketing. So then a few years ago, I really started to look at, okay, these are the things I seem to always be doing, but what's the theme? I don't want to focus on getting something with a certain title or office or something. This is about, what do I seem to love? I seem to love connecting people. I seem to love collaborating. I seem to love to help people. We're trying to wrap up here as these men are working
I'm sure
very
they can
hard
hear it.
to put things together. But this is how you know it's real time, people.
It's live. It's Memorex.
I love that ad. So it's less about working towards a specific. This isn't like I want to become a certain kind of biomedical scientist, right? And then there's a certain degree you have to get, a certain paths you have to study, certain people you're going to have to work under them, be under their tutelage. In a I've known community managers who were like part-time guitar players, people who were owning their own companies, people who were in backgrounds like mine, communications, customers, and marketing. But I just decided, you know what, instead of working on a role where I'm writing communications, throwing it over the fence and hoping someone responds to it, why not be in a community environment where I can actually get the feedback and see feedback in real time?
So it's more about, not about like aspiring to being a community manager. It's more that that's just who you are anyway.
Yeah, yes,
And
finding
you-
a role that matches
You have a job that lets you be who you are.
Exactly. Yes. Ding, 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 ding. That's exactly it. And the
You got
title,
a chicken dinner tonight.
Woohoo! Win or win.
the title could be anything else, right? And the title should not really matter. At least to me, I'm like, does the company I work for and the community I serve fit the values that I have? If the answers are yes to those things, give it a shot. And I'm lucky that I did find my tribe at Salesforce, because in past roles haven't really been an awesome fit for that. But no blame is there. It's more of, it's individuals' responsibility to figure out what are these themes that are common in my life. What are the problems I enjoy solving? what kind of people I want to work with for my audience, and it's imperative on us to figure that out.
All right, I got 2 things to close out with. Okay.
And I got one.
Shoot.
All right. Well, why don't you go first?
Okay. So if you had to, actually, it's kind of a 2-part question. Sorry. If you had to give a piece of advice, any piece of advice, to somebody who is who maybe has a profile in the success community but hasn't done anything yet with it, what would that be?
Let's see. I think I want to think about what they're trying to get out of their interaction in the community. So is it that they're trying to look for specific answers? Like, I want to go to an answer board, I want to post stuff, I want to get an answer. I think that's a more binary interaction, which is great. We've got 100% answer rate in the answers forum, by the way. So that's great, but I think that you also want to think about what else you could get out of the community. Maybe it's making connections. Maybe you're trying to hire people and you're looking for great talent. We've got great people in the community, so it's a great place to be able to find people to connect with. Maybe a future co-founder of yours is in the community.
There you go.
You have no idea. I think of it like LinkedIn. I know that people always say LinkedIn for this, Uber for that, but it's true. It's like a LinkedIn, but very, very hyper-targeted to just
specific.
those in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Right.
So you know that everyone in the community has some kind of connection to the same ecosystem you're already active in. So start thinking about what's your role there, and I think that will help dictate your path.
And what piece of advice would you give to people who are already quite engaged in the community?
Engaged, and engaged
Keep
means
doing what you're
different
doing.
things. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. We love that you're there. We appreciate it because the community is only as valuable as the people in it and what they contribute. So I think that you want to keep doing it, but you also want to find ways to pay it forward, right? So if you're really active in the community and pretty, high exposure, people know you, I think that's a great way to be able to think more about giving back. And overall in our community, that's what I see, is that people give and take. You got to be a maker while you're taking.
So I have 2 questions for you. I'm sure you are an avid listener of our podcast and probably have heard every episode that we've done.
Not
before.
everyone, but I try to keep up with certain ones that I always listen to.
We've now gone almost 10 episodes without Parker Harris on our show.
Uh-oh.
So on the chance that we get Parker Harris on the show, what one question would you like to ask him?
You know what? I'd love to ask him, because I know his background.
Would you love us to ask him? That could be a different.
I would love you to ask him is, I guess there's a couple different things. One like Salesforce related, one non-Salesforce related. One that's more Salesforce related is, how did he, with engineering background, kind of change over time, evolve to be able to become the leader of a company along with Mark Benioff? These are really different skill sets, and something we're seeing right now with Mark Zuckerberg as well, who was the engineer and founder, and now he's not only a CEO, he's an exceptional global leader, and that's what I see in Parker Harris as well. And he did it before it was cool, right? So I'd love to know, what is that progression like, and what were some of the really hard parts about changing the lenses that he was wearing?
What was the second thing you would ask?
The second thing I was going to ask is, what do you read in your quote-unquote downtime? What's on your Audible? What's on your Goodreads? I would love to know.
Second thing and the last thing we'll ask is, what's your favorite Salesforce joke?
My favorite Salesforce joke, you know what? I don't know if there's just one, but anything that Steve Moe puts out, I'm just dying. He's hilarious. There's Schrodinger's cat and baby seals, pick list, but there's also a new group that just got off the ground a couple weeks ago by a member of the community, not a Salesforce employee. I think his name is David Geiler. Don't know how to pronounce it, but he is a fellow guy from New Jersey. I'm from Jersey myself. And he started a group called Salesforce Humor. And he and a few other people are putting memes together. Just really fun.
Okay,
it's
we
kind
have
of
to
like
find
a
that.
great way to
And
let off
why
steam.
have not people told us before? We've been
I
asking for
did.
submissions.
Well, you
Oh,
did,
really?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've been asking for submissions for
Oh,
jokes
really?
for ages, and nobody.
Oh.
Well, we get a few.
Well, why don't you band together with David?
We should.
Combine
have to.
forces, right?
We should,
You're
'cause my
funny,
jokes are terrible.
He's funny.
Yes, they are.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
No,
And
thank
we're
you,
being
gentlemen.
kindly asked to leave so they can remove the
Okay,
gigantic
we don't
light
want
beam
any-
above us.
Things falling on us,
No.
right?
Yes. That's not how I want to see the light.
We don't roll like that.
All right.
All right, bye. And it's success.salesforce.com.
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brian. But cream of gorilla soup? We'd have to sell it in awfully big cans, wouldn't we?
That's disgusting. Now it's time for a new Fred.
I hate that name.
Fred is where we ask people a single question and hope for honest and open answers. It'll also be named Fred until someone has a better idea.
We continue looking at how people first got introduced to Salesforce. We asked, what was your first time like? With Salesforce. Salesforce, yes.
It was actually really exciting. So I was actually inside sales, and I was inside.
Inside sales.
Inside. I was inside, and I was young, fresh out of college.
So over 18.
I was over 18. I was, however old you are normally, 22, I guess. I was 22. And
So
it was
passed for under 18.
probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, jailbait
You
a
are
little
very
bit.
good.
Thank you. And it was exhilarating, and I felt a whole new power that I hadn't felt before. And it changed my life, obviously.
Did you really take control of the situation?
Not at first. At first, I let other people lead, and now I'm in control. Took me a while to move into the power role.
So you kind of switched.
I did
Yeah.
switch.
So there's a lot of philosophies around there when you're dealing with Salesforce. Some people like to keep things open and loose. Or are you one of those other people that prefer to really keep things locked down tight and make sure that validation rules are always in place?
Data quality is important to me, so tight is good. But data sharing is also important to me, so it's a mix of both.
Right, your
So
data
it's-
has to be free.
Yes.
It depends on the quality of your organization, of the
It
needs
does.
of your organization.
It does.
You want
Depends
to
on
be
needs.
User
you want
needs.
to have an open organization but still be safe.
Exactly.
That sounds like a very responsible thing to do.
The most. I've learned from experience.
Sweaty balls.
Mark is not going to be able to keep his face straight when he edits.
I choked on my gum.
Now it's time for our Salesforce video of the undetermined amount of time until the next one.
This episode, we're sharing the excellent Midwest Dreaming keynote by Dan Darcy.
Hey, Brian, I can't help but notice that this video is on your YouTube channel.
Well, no one else posted the keynotes. Besides, it's a really good presentation, Mark. It's all about the culture of innovation.
Indeed. So if you have any other suggestions for videos, tips, or jokes related to Salesforce, email us at wizardcast@thewizardnews.com.
Or simply go to thewizardnews.com and select Contact WizardCast. So Dreamforce is only a few weeks away.
This year, Brian and I will be hosting a hands-on training, or HOT, session on advanced flows.
It's going to be loopy.
You already made that joke.
Last episode, we asked listeners to help answer a few tough questions.
We asked, where should we have the second unofficially official annual meeting of the Flownatics?
I suggest the admin zone, and perhaps in the admin zone during one of our live podcast recording sessions.
And I wanted it in a nice, comfortable, not at all unsanitary or dangerous dive bar.
We also asked if Mark should get Yoda ears, those cute little green things that you put on the side of your head, this year instead of carrying that little monster on his back. So our logo would make more sense.
My ears got so hot, Brian. And besides, I'm always going to have a little monster on my back as long as I'm working with you.
You're constantly wearing that backpack everywhere you go when you're with me?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Go on.
You're a strange man. So we posted these polls at the new WizardCast chatter group at the Success Community. Polling is still open, so go and submit your preferences.
Have you looked at the results so far, Brian?
Yeah, you're totally and utterly losing so far, Mark. On
Yeah, I
both
know.
polls, people completely agree with me. You need to wear those Yoda ears, and the Phonetics meeting should be at the admin zone. It's like not one person has voted for your option.
I think it's rigged. Rigged, I tell you. Who are your contacts at Salesforce, and what are they doing to alter the chatter polls?
Well, I did get to write the answers to the poll, so serves you right for missing our weekly status meeting.
We have weekly status meetings? You totally skipped the what did we learn.
What did we learn, Mark?
Well, I learned we have weekly status meetings, apparently.
Yeah, we do, because we do so much work together, Mark. I mean, we're doing the hands-on training. We might be doing another session, potentially with Process Builder.
That's
We
true.
are doing a podcast together. We're also doing
Yeah.
a live podcast at Dreamforce. I mean, we do a lot together. It only makes sense to have a weekly status meeting. Well, I'm a little concerned because you never show up.
Yeah, me too. What did you learn?
Well, I learned that before you record a live session or a live interview, you should make sure that the union folks are coming to tear down the set.
I think you also learned who the Fonz is.
I still don't know who the Fonz is. I mean, come on, just relax, Mark. It's okay. Just think of happy days. WizardCast is produced by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, directed by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, technical administration by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, script writing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, audio editing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, website maintenance by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, sandwich consuming by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, and our intern this episode was Jillian Mendel.
I'm really sorry for the bad impersonation of you on our last episode. We love you, Jillian.
Yes, we absolutely love you, Jillian. Thanks for listening. Now please be a good intern and get Mark his Pepsi.
Who are you kidding? None of our interns ever bring us beverages.
You think we should tell them there are interns before we record the episode where they're the intern?
Probably. Send us your interview suggestions, jokes, videos, tips, and feedback to wizardcast@thewizardnews.com or head over to thewizardnews.com and click Contact WizardCast.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WizardCast and receive our next episode automagically. Once again, I'm Brian.
And I'm Mark.
Thanks for listening.
Right. It was right after the phenol. Oh my god.
Fetal.
Phenol?
I'm the one
Now
that's on medication
You're
right now, Mark.
influencing me.
That joke is a classic and will never go away, and technically we haven't used it for 2 episodes.
Damn. Stop. Damn it, Brian. You could have said something.
We needed something for the outro. Come on, that was great.
Yeah, now we have it. Yeah.